This is House Planning Help episode 354. Hi there, I'm Ben Adam Smith, and this is the podcast for you if you're interested in self-build or retrofit. I'm exploring what houses we should be building in the 21st century and trying to break down the major roadblocks that may get in our way. Coming up in this session, my guest is Tilmann Kramolisch, Managing Director of eco-label natureplus. Do you want to use sustainable, healthy materials on your project? Well, we're exploring how natureplus certifies products and whether all eco-labels are equal. Tilmann is based in Germany, and I've returned from holiday not that far away in Belgium in my attempt to fly less during each year. So doing a few more land-based travels. And the big learning for me was actually, oh my goodness, this is really close. I'm in the southeast of England anyway, so I'd just forgotten that the distance-wise, we can connect into Europe so easily. So I enjoyed that, enjoyed a bit of the culture. And on the housing side, I was quite surprised to see a lot of new housing, but no sign of developer housing. I'm sure in parts of Belgium there may be developer housing, but not where we were in the northeast corner. And just so much variety. And then when you get home, you see it on the edge of every town and village and wonder how we reverse this situation when people are making so much money. But I often hear of these trips onto the continent to explore different ways of producing houses. And I felt like this was my opportunity to see firsthand. So let's get to our featured interview with Tilmann Kramolisch of natureplus. So when we come to source products for our projects, we want healthy, sustainable materials, but it's not always easy to know 100% are we doing the right thing? Can we believe what we hear? So what they do at natureplus is quite thorough, and we're going to talk about that. However, I started by asking Tilmann to tell me a little bit about his background.
By education, I'm actually an economist and I studied international relations and economy. So when I was very young, I actually thought that, maybe I would like to become a politician or somewhere there to make real change. And then somehow I ended up here at natureplus in the construction sector, because really, if you would like to have an impact and to change something with the environment and climate change and so on, so construction sector really is the right place to be.
Well, I am quite similar as well. My background was media, but I
Yeah.
too saw construction. There's a lot that can change and make a really positive change. So I'm with you on that. Now, what are some of the challenges? We're talking about products today, building products. What are some of the challenges when we come to specify them?
Well, first of all, I would say you should differentiate between building materials and building products. That's at least what we do within natureplus. natureplus is an eco label. Just saying this, by the way. For example, you have clay as a material, and you can make different building products out of it. So you can process clay to make it a plaster, to make it a board for drywall construction, for example, or you can also burn it and make it to brick. And then if you have a specific production site and also a fixed recipe, so it's easy to actually classify the building product. And then out of our perspective, being an eco label, it's also easy to assess.
What makes a healthy building product then? So we've talked about materials that are going to be changed and altered and maybe mixed with other materials to make a product. What makes a healthy building product, or do we actually need to say what is a healthy material to begin with?
Yeah, I think that's the right way. So what is a healthy material as a basic resource? And then we go to the building product. Now, let's say we want to have more sustainable basic resources. So topics like reuse of materials are becoming very important. And then the question, well, when we use a material, when we do urban mining, are these materials also healthy? But coming back to your first question here, so what is a healthy building product? Actually is your insurance for a better living and a better daily life. So there's the World Health Organization, and they also have classified the sick building syndrome. They say that the construction environment we are living in actually has a very strong influence on human health. So For example, the air tightness of rooms we are in, also the emission of a harmful substance within the products. All of these things really affect human health. And so it's really about having a look on the materials, that there are no pollutants in it, that they don't emit harmful substances and so on, that we have strict minimum values there. I would say a healthy product also is a second thing. It's also a product that is healthy for the planet in terms of climate and also in terms of material extraction. So both a product that doesn't harm nature and human, that is healthy.
That's quite interesting. So is Nature Plus really about those two aspects, or is it even incorporating more?
Yeah, it's about these two health aspects, but our approach is absolutely holistic, but we always talk about three pillars of sustainability. So it would be the health aspect we talked about, and we had split into two. So that's the one. The second is climate protection, and the third is sustainable resourcing. So we really think that that you have to apply a holistic approach. We have very good examples that show that this is really important when you want to construct in a sustainable way. For example, when it comes to asbestos. So this fiber was actually in the first place really, yeah, let's say a good idea to save resources, because thanks to this fiber, you need less. In those times, you would need less concrete, for example. But then we found out that this fiber actually is very harmful for your health. And now, if we demolish a building and it has asbestos, we can't reuse this material, but we have to dispose it. And so we haven't done anything for saving resources, what we actually wanted to do in the first place. So in this example, what they didn't apply was the aspect of healthy materials. So really, when you develop a material or apply a material, out of our perspective, it's very important that you apply all the three. So healthy accommodation, climate protection, and sustainable resourcing.
Does it always work out that the better products can hit the mark on all three of those, or sometimes will they only do two? How do you work it? Do you give it a score out of 100?
All the products we have certified, they can achieve all of the three aspects. We're working with minimum values, for example, and also thresholds that the building materials have to fulfill.
So there would be some products that you would just not even consider because they're going to fall short of the mark.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. So we have kind of a golden rule, and we follow the approach of leave it in the ground regarding oil, actually. And so we really say that materials that want to become Nature Plus certified or that are sustainable in our understanding, they have to have minimum 85% of bio-based mineral material that is available, or recycled material. Not all recycled, but let's say recycled material. And this actually, well, exclude mainly petrochemical based materials.
And what does the test procedure look like for this? When we're giving you our product here, okay, we know that it's over 85% of bio-based materials. What do you do next?
It's actually, well, not us that is doing it. So, as always, if you want to have a really reliable system, you have to make the testing independent. I'm the director of Nature Plus Association. It's a, well, non-profit association, and we issue this eco label. However, we don't do the assessment of the building materials. So we just define criteria. And the assessment is done by the Nature Plus Institute. It's a cooperative. So this just maybe as an background information. So we really think that if you have an eco label, it's, yeah, very good to have a closer look who's issuing the label and are the criteria transparent and who's doing the assessment. And in our case, as said, it's done by an independent body. But coming back to your question, so let's say there's a manufacturer for wood fiber insulation boards. They are approaching us and asking, well, can we do this certification? We definitely say, yeah, let's do it, let's try, let's go for it. And then we do certain tests regarding these 3 dimensions. And we just recall the 3 dimensions I was saying. So it's health, it's climate, it's resources. And so the natureplus Institute actually, they require a full declaration of the recipe, of course, of the products, getting more information about it, and then doing the specific test. When it comes to climate, for example, we do an life cycle assessment, but not for like the entire life cycle of this product. We do an assessment from A1 to A3, so from cradle to gate. So where you really have all the values available. Because when you're going a little bit further in the life cycle, it can be, for example, if you go in the phase of D or C, sometimes you have estimations, and this is something we could estimate, but we really want to stay to the facts. And so what we do, we assess A1 to A3, cradle to gate. And there we have limit values per product group. So also we have a limit value for wood fiber insulation boards, and only above average production can be honored. Well, in terms of CO2 emissions and also primary energy use. In this dimension of climate, so we would have a look into the annual energy consumption. We would gather all the info about the building, the construction site. Also would have a look at the exhaust gas value of the combustion, for example, of a kiln. What fuel is used at the machines. We do a comprehensive energy balance of the company. And it's always the question, like, how do we get this data? Everything is about the data. So, for example, if a manufacturer already has an EPD, this environmental product declaration, then we can get the info from there, from the background report. If not, we would collect it by ourselves. What we do in any case is we always do an on-site inspection. We really want to see it out by ourselves. And we do it for verification of the documents we received from the manufacturer. And also we want to do an independent sample taking. And with this, I actually could go to the next dimension we are testing. So this would be healthy accommodation. Really, it's not to be underestimated the role of materials on our health. So there are 2 questions that are very important. What does the material contain? And second, what actually comes out of the material when we apply it on a building, for example. And again, we having what was our sample? It was a wood fiber insulation board, right? So we would go to the production site, would take a sample by ourselves, and then it would be sent to a testing laboratory. So the natureplus Institute is coordinating the entire assessment, but the tests themselves are actually done by accredited assessment laboratories. So, for example, we have in Cologne. I don't know if if you ever have been in Cologne. It's really a beautiful city, nice people there, and there also is one of our very important partners, the Eco Institute. That's the name of them, and they do all these tests. For example, VOC, formaldehyde, biocides, stuff like this. I guess in one of your episodes before, you have talked about the health aspect already. VOC, that's the volatile organic compounds. And if you have them in a certain amount, they also can be harmful for the health. So it's very important to have a close look how much of them, like the total value of it, and also single values there are emitted by the product you want to apply. So going back to our sample, we have the sample, and then in the Eco Institute, they would take the sample, put it into a chamber, and then they actually wait 2 days, 10 days, on all 28 days. And for all these days, they would have a close look and an analysis how much VOC, for example, but also formaldehyde is emitted by this sample. And by this, we can find out what comes out. And the Nature Plus products, they have to fulfill very strict thresholds, so values that they may not exceed. So we have defined them also like what we try to apply is a preventive health understanding, so that also persons that might be more vulnerable, that they also can live very nicely and healthy in a building, in a room. So that's the approach we apply here.
Well, there's a lot of information. I didn't want to stop you there for a moment, but I do
Yeah.
want to ask a few questions now. So, this must take a lot of time to complete this. And secondly, what about accuracy? Are you ever wondering about certain parts of the process, or is this all, for example, in the laboratory checking for VOCs and things? Is this just something that happens these days and you can do it really well, or are there any potential weak points in the process?
So what helps pretty much, I would say, are standards that you have to fulfill. In this part, for example, we cooperate with different laboratories. And so they, of course, keep to the same standards. So it's all about really being very precise with the criteria and the standards. And we have it all in, we call it guidelines, the Nature Plus guidelines for our materials. And if you are precise and accurate with that, then I think this really helps a lot.
And what is going to happen at the end of this? Are we just going to think, oh, it's Nature Plus, I can rely on this product, it's in their database? Or are we going to get a very detailed breakdown? Or does everybody use it completely differently? Do they want the detail and some people don't want the detail?
I think communication is very key. And what we try to do is do it as simple as possible. So this is why we do this very, very big testing. And then we put it just simple to one statement. This product is Nature Plus. And what we really try to do, or to offer you and architects and all persons that want to apply sustainable products, is a label that shows, okay, this product really is entirely sustainable. So it's really to make the complex communication as simple as possible. And yeah, we have, for example, a database where all the certified products are listed. If you're looking for a healthy product, for a sustainable product in terms of resources and climate-friendly one, then just go on the Nature Plus database and, well, it's a positive list. If you really want to apply this product in a BIM or somewhere else, then you better go for different databases, I would say. So there's, for example, also 2050s materials where we do cooperate with them. There's also First Planet as a database. There's Baubook. It's an Austrian partner of ours. And there you really have tools to calculate with the products. For example, if you have an insulation material and you need a certain insulation value, then with these databases, you can work very nicely there. So eco-label is one thing we do. The other thing really is, with the knowledge we have about sustainable building products, we try to give a lot of information into the market, try to do awareness raising, also talking a lot with politicians, with persons making the regulations. Like, we can do a lot by ourselves with our daily decisions, but it's also about big companies building houses, but also about policymakers, that they do regulations that help to have more sustainable construction.
So you mentioned you're a non-profit. How does it work as a manufacturer then? Are there any costs involved for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the assessment itself, we already talked about two aspects. It was the climate, health, resources. We also do, in terms of resources, we do some tests, and well, the manufacturer, they have to also do quite some documentation work. There's one requirement, for example, that they do the renaturalization of quarries, for example, or clay pits, and also that they have conflict-free resources and so on. So it's also quite some paperwork. And you asked about costs. So as a manufacturer, you also have to put a little bit time into it. We really try to keep it as small as possible, the time you have to spend. But on the other hand, if you see a manufacturer or a product that is labeled, then you really see, wow, this manufacturer put a lot of effort into having this eco label. So you really see that they convinced of what they do. It's not that you just buy it and then you have it. You also have to really spend some effort in it. So that's also why I think Ecolabel is a good sign if a product has it and it's an independent testing. And again, this independent testing, you have to pay for that. So it's around about 8,000 euros, could be less, depending on what tests you have already done. And if you have, for example, already an EPD, then the cost could be a little bit lower. All this is done with the Nature Plus Institute together. Then you also pay, as a manufacturer, you pay an annual fee. And this fee actually helps us as a non-profit association to keep the criteria up to date. And then also to do a little bit of lobbying for sustainable construction materials because they really need more lobby, I would say. That's really important. They need more awareness. Yeah, so you have two costs as a manufacturer, assessment costs and license fee costs.
And I imagine those costs compared to the turnover of their business must be quite small. So I'm also wondering, does this almost only include a certain geographic area? Because if it's an international company, might they be doing something different in their production facility in India or US or whatever it might be? How does that side of things work? Or would you always have to cover the whole picture?
No, you don't. And yeah, it's a good point you mentioned. So really production, like you could have the same building product, but the production could differ really a lot depending where the product is produced. So, well, we are an international association and also the eco label is internationally, but to be more precise, we are mainly active in Europe, Central Europe. So the manufacturers we have certified, or the products actually, they are mainly from, well, Germany, of course, Switzerland, Austria, Belgium, Netherlands, Spain, France, so Italy, also some Middle East European countries. So that's where the production sites are. And this, of course, makes it easier for us because they all have to stick to the rules of the one market of the European Union. This, of course, makes it way easier. But the devil is in the detail. So the bigger the company is and the more production sites the company has, the more complex the assessment becomes, of course.
And dare I ask the question, is there anything from the UK in Nature Plus?
Well, we really try to to talk with many manufacturers in the UK. We have many Nature Plus certified products in the UK, but not yet a UK company-owned product certified.
It's probably because we don't make very much. I imagine that could be part of it as well.
Yeah, but to be honest, you have some very, very, very interesting products also over there. And yeah, the production of the building material industry, let's say, is quite the local one compared to other industries because, well, some of the materials they are just very heavy, and so it doesn't make so much sense to ship them so far.
What else do we need to think about in this conversation about Nature Plus? Is there anything I've missed?
Well, it's maybe an invitation really to get involved. We are really an European network, and we are facing very similar problems all over Europe. So we, for example, we have a building stock that really need retrofitting, and we really have to achieve the construction turnaround in order to, yeah, that the construction sector emits less CO2. When we ask the question, okay, how can we retrofit our building stock? Then it absolutely makes sense to, yeah, to have a European idea exchange. And for example, in the Netherlands, there's a very interesting initiative that do the facade insulation in a pre-produced way. So they have kind of a serious production of the facade, and then they pre-manufacture it in the in a factory, let's say, and then they bring it to the house, and within some days, really very short construction time, they put it in front of the house. And this is something that is applied with big success in the Netherlands, and why don't copy and paste this system somewhere else? Or another example is we had a very interesting excursion in Turkey, and well, it's a very good destination for making vacation. That's why we go there, because of the very nice sun. And so since centuries already, they have found very intelligent solutions to deal with the sun, so that they well, simply do a roof overlap that is much bigger than we have it in Central Europe. And by this, they keep the sun out in the summertime, and well, in the wintertime, because the sun is lower, it still can go inside. Or they apply different materials depending on which direction the wall is. So different insulation material and clay, and thickness is different. And all these ideas is, to make a long story very short, I think this European exchange is very, very valuable. And this is something we provide with the Nature Plus, our webinars and so on. And we have in every country, we have also organizations that represent Nature Plus, where the UK representative, which is the Alliance for Sustainable Building Products, the ASBP, and where they have a nice network, and they do fantastic work, fantastic information. And yeah, it's really, really, really helpful to get connected and to talk and to exchange ideas.
Just a couple of questions that I didn't manage to ask. So earlier on, you talked about EPDs. What is the difference between an EPD and what you get your testing facility, your partners to organize? Or does it just amount to the same thing?
No, not really. There's a very important difference. When it comes to certificates and labels, it gets complicated sometimes because there are so many, really, and it's quite a jungle. But it's a little bit easier if you are aware what kind of labels or types of labels are out there. And now coming back to your question, so they are really eco labels like Nature Plus, or one is called Nordic Swan in the Scandinavian countries. So they are type 1 labels. And very important here is they really do assess a product. So they really, in the end, they say, okay, this product is sustainable, for example, in terms of resources, like 100% recycled material, for example. So this is also what we do, but in a much more complex way at Nature Plus. Then you have a type 2 label, and these are labels run by the manufacturers themselves. So they also define, for example, a certain content of recycled material, but they do the criteria development by themselves and also the assessment. And then thirdly, and now finally coming back to your question about EPD, Environmental Product Declaration, you have declarations. So the big difference here is that you simply have a declaration. They gather all the information, the environmental information they can get about the product, but it doesn't say that this product really is environmental friendly or not. So it's a very, very important and helpful source for information. For example, if architects, planners want to do an LCA by themselves for a wall or something, the EPD doesn't say actually that this product is environmental friendly. So it's a type 3 label, you can say. So behind all these 3 different type of labels, there are, as always, certain international European standards. So it's not that just simply one says, okay, I'm this or that, but they also follow these standards. Is it more clear now?
I think so. So if I say this to you, that any product could get an EPD, whereas any product couldn't get your eco label.
Exactly, yeah. So really a very harmful product actually could get an EPD. So it's good that they do it, because at least they are transparent with their information. But yeah, it's not an eco-friendly product necessarily.
And do you find for your eco label that there are certain categories of products that you're filling up with, whereas other areas of a building, maybe not so much? So we've talked a lot about insulation. Is that a common one?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have certified about 600 products. Our own goal is always like really we dream about to build a house entirely out of Nature Plus certified products. But to be honest, at the moment, this wouldn't really entirely possible. So as said, 600 products and mainly insulation, correct. Plasters, we have many products certified. Paints, we have many products certified. Keim, for example, also very active in UK. We have bricks, many bricks certified, CLT products, so timber wood products. We have quite some products. These are maybe the most important product groups we have. We also have one product that is really, I'm very astonished that we have it. Like you have a highway, right? And then you have these sound barriers. And there's one manufacturer that actually offers Nature Plus certified sound barriers. Yeah, it's a broad variety of products we have.
As we wrap up now, is there a final thought, either reminding us of something we've already said or just a natural thought to finish up on to conclude?
I really like the idea of thinking global and acting local. So very often, also when it comes to sustainable building materials, then maybe you have a clay pit directly next to your house where you could get your material from, or from your production site yourself, or maybe also the insulation materials you could get from very close by. So this is something I really like. And yeah, like if you are out there and if you, try to get some orientation, of course, I would say we give you a very good orientation with our eco label Nature Plus. But again, for you, I think there are three things to identify a trustful market instrument such as a label. So also if you, for example, going into the supermarket and want to buy some fruits that are like organic, like good fruits, and it has a label, then take maybe 2 minutes and have a look what interest stands behind this label. Are the criteria transparent? And also, is the assessment done independently? You simply have to apply these three criteria, and if these are fulfilled, you really can be sure that, it's a good label and that one can trust.
Well, Tilmann, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Get a recap in today's show notes, which you can find online, houseplanninghelp.com/354, where you can review the key points once again. We give you that summary, or get interactive in the show notes. Just scroll down to the bottom. We'll link you to Nature Plus, houseplanninghelp.com/354. My call to action is to check out the Hub, which is our membership community that we run along with House Planning Help. The idea being to give you access to more resources that take more work to create. So if you become a member, you help us sustain this, and we're always trying to do more. It also pays for the free stuff, and you can give it a go. We don't hold you captive. You can unsubscribe from the dashboard at any time within a click or two. So just give it a go. Give it a test run. In there, you will find things like our in-depth video case studies, where we've been filming through low energy projects. Remembering my background is media, and I run a production company called Regen Media. So we try and make these really high value, looking at all the decisions that are made along the way, for better, for worse. Then we've got the courses, similar idea, trying to lay things out so you can get straight to what you want to know. Then we bring in some guest experts with our live training calls. Perhaps you want to mingle with other people on similar projects. Well, that's the idea of the forum. Ask the expert. So we bring experts in for specific topics, and then you can just ask a question. So you don't have to put up with just me, or you can chat to me in our office hours, which are every week. Find out more, houseplanninghelp.com/join. Next time, Lloyd Alter. Fantastic. He returns to the podcast. What is upfront carbon and how much does it impact us? Well, that's the focus of Lloyd's latest book, so we'll find out all about it. Thank you so much for listening. The House Planning Help podcast is produced by Regen Media, content that matters.